Do you ever feel like your habits are sabotaging your health and fitness goals? Maybe you're reaching for the snacks when you're stressed, you're snoozing through workouts, or you just have to have that glass of wine at the end of a stressful day. Maybe you know what you need to be doing, but you just can't seem to follow through. If that's where you're at, this episode is for you. My name is Lindsay Pickowitz. I am one of the head coaches and the co-founders at The Fitness Project. And in this very special episode of Conquer the Day, we are going to be teaching you how to break through the most difficult habits to break. Things like eating at night, things like hitting snooze in the morning, things like having to have that wine to unwind, and so much more. We're sharing with you a live masterclass that we hosted for our private Facebook community, Energy Secrets for Business Owners, called the Habit Breakthrough Masterclass, where action by action, habit by habit, you will learn how to rewire yourself and your behaviors so that you can live the fit, healthy life that you want to live. Now, I'm not going to delay you any further. If this is a video that you enjoy, that you love, then do me a favor, like this video. And if you want to take it one step further, we've included a link to our free Facebook community, Energy Secrets for Business Owners, and we would love to have you be a part of it so that we can actually make it. We do masterclasses like this every quarter, and you are more than welcome to be a part of it. But for now, and without further ado, please enjoy and be a sponge for the Habit Breakthrough Masterclass.
Today, we're going to lift off with this intention around building some breakthrough habits. Is everyone ready to break through some habits, maybe some eating habits, some stress habits? Maybe there's a different habit that you're working on, but is everyone ready to learn how to get unstuck, start building some better habits, and really regain control of your health? If you're here for that, say yes. Give us a thumbs up. Let's get
maybe a hell yes if needed.
Awesome.
Good stuff. So here's what we got to do. First things first, as we're diving in, we got to set up the rules of this game. Now, our clients know this, but we always make sure we set expectations so that we know how we need to approach this for the conversation or the call, the session to be successful. Okay, so rule number one. We are in a Zoom room together. Some people will be sharing live. We will be putting things in the chat box. We will be very open and transparent. But in order for that transparency to come through, we have to promise to be respectful. Respectful, attentive, non-judgmental. This is safe space. We are all here to grow. So rule number one, we are here to be respectful and create that environment for growth. Yes or yes? Everybody good with that? Excellent. Rule number two.
Rule number two, again, we say this is a game, and like all games, the better you play, the harder you play, the more you get out, right? So one of our rules here is play full out, right? Take notes, be engaged, really try to think about what you're learning. Think about the different lessons that are coming up so that way you can get the most out of this. The harder you play, the more you'll gain. So is everyone here to play full out, ready to play full out, really dive into this? Can I get a yes? Get a hell yes? Thumbs up?
Nice.
Fantastic. Fantastic.
We see you all. Excellent. And we would love for you to share your comments, but one thing we always like to encourage is to tell us before you tell us. So put a 1 in the chat box or use your emojis to raise, where is it? To raise your hand underneath the reactions. Raise your hand or put a 1 in the chat box to let us know that you have something you want to share or you have a question to ask. Because you are more than welcome to ask questions. We're going to be teaching a lot, but this is also collaborative. This is meant to be an interactive session where you can actually go and act on it after. So put a 1 in the chat box if you have a question or you have some comment to share or something you want to say, just so that we don't all turn on our mics at any given point in this conversation. Okay, so just a quick roll.
Awesome. So before we dive into the content, we have to set our state, right? Because if we're just passive, we're just kind of going through the motions, you're not going to learn. The reason why you didn't learn anything in school is because you had to sit in a classroom for 8 hours, right? So we have to be engaged in what we're learning in order for it to sink in. So obviously, if you are driving, if you are walking on a step mill, Deborah, or, then this might be a little more challenging, but we highly encourage you all to embrace this little moment where we actually pick up some energy together. Okay. So what we're going to do, this is going to be something simple. We're going to just get the energy cranked up here for a few moments, is we're going to do our priming breathing exercise where we stretch our arms up. We take a deep breath in, then we're going to breathe out. We're going to do 15 of these. We're going to get some breath. We're going to get some motion. We're going to get some energy. We're going to do this all together, and then we're going to dive into the content. So again, reach up your arms. You can close your eyes if you want, but you're going to breathe in and breathe out. You're going to breathe in and breathe out. Breathe in and out. Breathe in and out. Breathe in.
Nice.
Out. Breathe in. Out. Breathe in. Out. Breathe in. Out.
Make those breaths
Breathe
big.
in. Out. Last 3. In. Out. Breathe in. Out. Last one. In. Out. Bring your arms to your side. You can gently just close your eyes for a moment. And what I want you to just focus on for just a brief moment is, what is your intention for this call? And maybe a simple bridge to that is, what would it be like to remove the habit that's in the way? Where would you be if you could just get rid of this one stinking habit? Where would you be if you could break through and finally be healthy, finally be consistent, and get some of the results or the life that you want? What would that look like? What would that feel? You have that set. Take a deep breath into it and breathe out. One last breath in and out. And now when you're ready, you can open your eyes, come back.
Excellent. Give yourselves a round. We're very movement focused, if you can't tell, because your physiology impacts your ability to be open-minded, to learn. So if our state is closed off or stressed, then it's going to be a lot harder to actually absorb information. But great job playing full out, starting on the right pace. And just for a quick note, we love to see faces. The first panel on our page right now is all faces. Hi, guys. Thank you for having your cameras on. Once you get to a place where it is safe and comfortable, maybe not comfortable, but safe to turn your camera on, please do that so we can see your face and make sure you're hearing us and we get that body language too. But that said, we are ready to rip, roar, and go.
So in the chat box, who wants to see some engagement? Simple question. How long does it take to build a new habit? How long does it take to build a new habit? What's your answer? What are your thoughts? How long does it take? 21 days. I got 21 days. Anyone else? Does anyone else think it takes maybe 4 weeks? You got 4 weeks, 21 days. Anyone else? What is it? How long does it take to build a month? Okay. Let's get 2 more, 3 more.
21 days, more than 90 for me.
More than 90 for me. Okay.
21-ish.
1 year. That's a great answer. These are all fantastic answers. Now, none of you are right. None of you are wrong. And we're going to talk about why that is. Okay. So there's this myth that it's 21 days, right? And there was a research study that happened. It came out of England. I can't actually remember the university, so I apologize for that. But essentially it stated that a habit takes anywhere between 21 days to 7 months to implement, right? So there's this wide gap on how long it could take. And the reason why there's a long gap is because not all habits are equal, right? Not all habits are equal. Some habits require more time, more effort, and more intention than others, right? And so you can imagine it this way. Imagine that you were trying to build a morning routine of going for a run, right? Think about how much energy that would require. You'd have to put on your shoes. You'd have to drink some water. You have to get hydrated. You'd have to stretch. You'd have to get out there and actually push yourself to run, versus building the morning routine of drinking a glass of water. I wake up, I grab a glass, boom. Pretty easy, right? The key is understanding that not all habits are equal. So sometimes we feel like, oh my gosh, this should just be easy already. But even if we think of a similar habit, like working out, it's not obvious that each habit is going to be the same, because going to the gym requires a certain amount of time, energy, effort, strategy, right? It might have more equipment, might have more of what you need, compared to working out at home. But working out at home is easier for reducing the friction between you and your workout. Now, obviously, working out at home, you might not have the right equipment. You might not have everything you need. It might stall your progress. The point is that not every habit is the same. So we have to be able to approach the habits that we're building in a unique way.
And also remember, everyone is different. As much as we know this, sometimes we forget, right? And that means everyone has their own desires. Everyone has their own constraints. Everyone has their own patterns that they have to work through. So what might be really easy for some, or look really easy for somebody else, might be a little bit more difficult for you, and vice versa. So just keep this in mind. Give yourself a little bit of grace going into this conversation.
Now, our goal with this conversation is to sprinkle in as many nuggets as possible. So take lots of notes. And this is where your first note should come in, because we're going to talk about the golden rule, the first principle to breaking a bad habit, which is the golden rule of habit change. Essentially, the golden rule of habit change comes from Charles Duhigg, wrote the book, The Power of Habit. And it states you can't always control what happens, but you can always take a new action. You can always take a new action. The golden rule of habit change is to take a new action. You can think of this as make a new decision. Make a new decision. Now, we're going to show you how you can make some new decisions today, or show you how to implement some new actions. But this is the foundational principle. If you're thinking, how do I build a new habit? It's a daily commitment. It's a moment-to-moment commitment. It's not a, oh, I've been doing this for 21 days. It should be easy. No. Every day, every moment, we get the opportunity to choose, and that's what we want to focus on.
Yeah. Ultimately, at the end of the day, like Brian's saying, we're going to give you a lot of tools, but if you don't make a decision that I'm going to change this habit, or a decision that I'm going to learn this, the tools won't be helpful for you. Mm-hmm. So just keep in mind, we're going to come back to this and re-anchor it a lot, but the golden rule of habit change is, remember, you have a choice and you can always control taking the new action. So think of it like this. Every habit follows a cycle. Note, every habit follows a cycle. So keep that in the back of your mind. We're going to come back to this a lot, but every single habit that we do automatically has some type of cue. Right? There's a stimulus, there's a trigger, there's something that sets off the next step, which is the craving. There's some type of urge or desire to act. We take an action in response to the craving, and then it produces some type of reward. And because that reward gets repeated every time we see the same cue, we will have the craving and then take the same action until the habit cycle is broken. Now, we're going to, as I said, we're going to come back to this a lot. So don't worry about writing all of it down yet.
And when we talk about the golden rule of habit change, this is the foundational principle, because you can't always control what happens. You can't control the stimulus. You can't control your boss sending you an email. You can't control the fact that you drive by McDonald's every day and you crave a McFlurry or whatever it is, right? You can't control the cue, the trigger. You can't always control that. And you also can't control the craving or the urge. Does anyone have like a food that they really like? Ooh, they might call it a weakness, right? When that food's around, you're just like, oh my gosh, like
lemon cake and tiramisu.
For me, buffalo chicken's around, or buffalo chicken pizza. I cannot control the fact that I want to eat it. I can't control the fact that I want to eat it. I can't control that craving, that urge. But I also need to understand that if I can't control the cue, I can't control the urge or the craving, I also have conditioned myself to expect a reward, right? My brain is anticipating, oh my gosh, that buffalo chicken pizza would taste so good. It's so delicious. I'm anticipating the reward. That's ingrained in each one of us. So although we can't control the cue, we can't control the feeling, we can't control the fact that we're anticipating a reward, we only have one option, and that is to take a new action. Now, we're going to show you what that actually looks like, because if you just think, oh my gosh, I just need to take a new action, and it's unrewarding, then it's going to be problematic. But if you can understand, hey, new actions equal new habits, then you're already 90% of the way to making the change.
Mm-hmm. That said, a really great quote just to write down, and Brian always shares this with me, is between stimulus and response, there's a space. In that space is our power to choose our response. And in our response lies our growth and our freedom. That comes from Viktor Frankl. and he was a psychologist who ended up in Auschwitz. So he wrote a book called Man's Search for Meaning. And this is a really, really great reminder that we do always have a choice. Even if sometimes we feel like we're fighting ourselves, or, oh my gosh, I really don't want to do the thing that I did want to do on Monday. So reminding yourself that every time that you take that little bit of space to say, wait, what do I actually want? What is actually going to best serve me? You take back your control, you take back your freedom. So just keep that in mind. And what we're really saying here, throughout this whole hour that we have together, this precious hour of space you've made for yourself to grow and learn, our mission is to find healthier actions to receive the reward that your brain is already seeking through that habit. Okay, so we're going to walk you through how to do this.
The reason why we want to start understanding what reward we're receiving is because all habits are a way for us to receive a reward. Let me say it again. All habits are a way for us to receive a reward. Now, the problem is oftentimes we associate a reward with a thing. The ice cream, the extra sleep when we hit snooze, right? The sweet tooth. Oh, I just have a sweet tooth. I just have such a sweet tooth. A lot of people say that. So maybe there's something else here. Or someone who shops on Amazon. Well, I just needed the thing. Like maybe need a little bit of variety, right? So what we really want to see is the reward is actually a change in state and how we feel. The only reason why we do anything is because of how it's going to make us feel. Even the things that we logically know, that's like, hey, I told myself I wasn't going to do that. Why did I do it? Because unconsciously or consciously, there was a change that you were seeking and you met that need through action. So everyone kind of tracking with this, at least making some good notes, taking some good notes.
Awesome. Good.
And the way to think about this, right? So the way to think about this, again, rewards, changes in feeling, changes in state. Oftentimes we stay at the surface. So I hit snooze because I just needed some extra sleep, right? Oftentimes the reward for hitting snooze is that extra 5 minutes. No one ever wakes up after 5 minutes feeling a little bit more rested, by the way. We usually are like, whew, like it's like you're coming out of a fog. The second thing is sometimes we eat popcorn late at night or we have sweets and we're like, I just really need something sweet. Now, obviously you could be hungry, but if you were really hungry, candy probably wouldn't be the option you would go to. So maybe there's something else there. Or scrolling on your phone. Oh, I'm just scrolling. I don't know why. I'm just doing it. Again, if we go below the surface, we might see it. There's something else really rewarding about that behavior. So when I hit snooze, a lot of times it's the avoidance of whatever is going to happen next. I don't really want to start the day today. Oh my God, I have a big project up, or I have this stressful thing I've got to get done. So it's kind of this avoidance tactic, or it provides a little bit of relief, right? And in that moment, the reward for sleep is relief. When we think of the food, oftentimes food is a sense of relaxation. So we'll say relaxation. So we eat the food late at night. We're not really hungry. We don't need it. Our bodies don't need the food that we're eating late at night. We could survive without it. But oftentimes we're eating because it gives us that, it's been a long day. What a relaxation. Or the sense of variety. Like you're watching the same Netflix show for the 5th time and you're like, you know what? Oreos sound pretty nice. Right? There's that sense of variety, that sense of comfort, the thing that comes from the food. And even when we think of social media, we're scrolling because we want a little bit of connection or a little bit of entertainment. We want to post something that makes us feel significant, right? So these are all the rewards that we're receiving through these behaviors. And if we can build awareness around that, that's how we can start to change.
Now, again, we'll pause here and come back to you. But in order to break a habit, we have to condition a new action or response to the same cues, same triggers, and it needs to meet the same emotional need or reward. So kind of thinking back to that same cycle. Said we'd come back to it a lot, but this is really what we're after. We got to have a new action to the same cue, the same frustration or the same boredom or whatever it is that still gives us variety or love or connection or whatever it is, but it's a different behavior. That's ideally healthier, right? So you don't feel like you're throwing yourself off course. Make sense? Thumbs up if it does, or a strong head nod works. Excellent. All right, so let's pause. Put in the chat. What is a habit that you want to break? Which I would assume, Brian and I would assume, is what brought you to this class. What is one habit you want to break?
Scrolling, fantastic. Drinking wine at night, fantastic.
Bring them all in.
Easiest way to stop scrolling is just to get rid of your phone.
Let's see them.
Kitchen, procrastination, feeling you need to drink socially.
Awesome. These are good. Yes. Procrastination's a big one. Drink socially.
Amazon, yes.
Kitchen mouse and eating junk food. Yep. Self-sabotage, emotional eating, extra snacking. There's going to be a lot of common threads here. I want to stop making myself feel icky when things aren't perfect.
Mhm.
Yes. Relying on husband to wake me up for a workout. Yep. Bless his heart though, right? Eating at night. Yep. Stress eating. Yep. Few common themes. And I hope that through seeing some of these in the chat, you can give yourself even a little bit more grace. You're not alone. Get more than 2 to 6 hours of consistent high quality sleep. Man, that is a fabulous, fabulous goal. Awesome. Keep them coming. Right. At least get them down in the chat. Scrolling and eating out.
Love it.
Yep. Good. Good.
And so the next point, this is where we get leverage, because if we don't have an emotional reason to change, we're never going to change. So what are the consequences you're experiencing by not breaking this pattern? What is the consequence of late night scrolling? What is the consequence of Amazon? Right? What is the consequence of some of the things that you're recognizing that I want to work on this? And a simple way to think about this is, what is it costing you? What is it costing you? And then last, why is that unacceptable for you to hold that standard? Why is it unacceptable for this to be the way that you're showing up? Scrolling makes me lazy. Fantastic. And what is unacceptable, or what is that costing you being lazy? What aren't you able to do? What dreams don't you fulfill? What other habits don't you put in place? Yeah, you're not healthy. Yeah.
Yeah. And then that last one, since Molly's being the example here, is so it's costing her health. So the question is, why is that unacceptable? To some people, that might be acceptable, but for you, why is it not acceptable? Because until it's unacceptable, you won't have enough leverage to change it, especially if it's deeply ingrained. So we're getting leverage. Getting leverage here.
I miss deadlines. I feel bad about myself. Yeah. I'm better than
this. Yes.
Miss deadlines. That's really great awareness.
Mm-hmm.
And then you got to think too, what's the consequence of missing a deadline? That impacts everyone else too.
Mm-hmm.
Right? How does that impact someone else if that's the way that you're showing up? Right? It's no judgment. There's nothing bad about this. It's just understanding for ourselves what's at stake. Yeah.
Yep. And you'll start to see a lot of what comes up here when you start to analyze, like, why is this not okay anymore? A lot of it's because it's out of alignment with your values. It's out of alignment with who you want to be. And so it just feels so wrong and off because you know who you want to be, but you know your behavior is not in alignment with that person, which is why it feels so, in Angie's words, icky. It feels so,
And I would give you all this too. It's important that we tell ourselves the truth, but we don't make it worse than what it is, right? So it's, again, we're bringing awareness. We're getting some leverage, right? Getting some leverage on ourselves, because now we have a reason to change. If we don't have a reason to change, then we won't change the behavior. It's like, it'd be nice to change that habit, but I don't really understand what's at stake.
Yep. Excellent work.
Fantastic.
Great. And just make sure you have these answers, because again, everything we're stacking up with you and interacting with you on is for your benefit. So just keep making sure, even if you don't put it in the chat, you write it down for yourself. Okay.
Fantastic.
Awesome. All right. That said, we are now on the same page and ready to learn what to do from here with these bad habits that we do not want to have anymore. Yes or yes? Yes.
All right, let's bring some fun.
Okay, so we're going to have some fun with this now that we've got some leverage. The 3 things that we're going to cover, just so you know what's coming. We're going to talk about getting unstuck, breaking the bad habits, regaining control. But there's 3 different areas we're going to hit on. We're going to make sure you have some awareness around how these habits got here. Again, the more grace you can give yourself, the easier it is to change. So how do these habits form? How do we rewire them? We have a 3-step process for you that's going to be very straightforward and easy to implement. And then we are going to talk about the pitfalls of habit change, because we all know we've said, I'm going to do better here, and then we don't follow through. So we're going to make sure you're set up for success.
In order for us to rewire a habit, there are 3 keys, right? There's 3 keys that we're going to show you today to build off of what Lindsay was talking about. The first step is we have to have new awareness. You can't change what you're not aware of. So even just recognizing this is what I want to change, this is why I want to change it, you're starting to build momentum. Once we have awareness, though, we have to start practicing taking new actions. We have to practice taking new actions. I can be aware, but if I don't change my behavior, I didn't learn, right? It's a sign I didn't learn. And then once we start building awareness and starting to take new action, we have to start rewarding ourselves in a new way. Oftentimes we'll take a new action, but the reward for it would be like, I should have been doing that the whole time. The heck's wrong with me? Right? We don't actually reward ourselves. We beat ourselves up for not doing the thing. So we have to take that next step and reward ourselves. And then from doing that, we start to implement a new behavior overall. As we start, we're going to focus on this key point of awareness. Again, awareness is so crucial because we can't change what we're not aware of. The reason why your oil light comes on. I need to change that, because if I don't change that, I'm probably going to ruin my engine. When we think of our bodies and our habits, we have to also practice becoming aware of them, because most of our habits are unconscious. Most of our behaviors day to day are unconscious. They happen automatically. Think about brushing your teeth. You don't think about how you brush your teeth. You just kind of go here a little bit, you go here a little bit. It's an automatic habit. You don't think about it, just routine at this point. And that's because a habit is any regularly repeated behavior that's been conditioned through repetition, which makes it automatic, makes it something you just do.
And one thing that's important, again, a lot of this is, let's give ourselves a little bit of grace here. Don't beat yourself up so much you can't change. Habits are just your brain's way of solving problems. It's trying to automate the behavior. So let's say that you have a problem. Your brain says, I need to fix that. And it starts testing things, right? But eventually you're going to find some solutions. They might not be the healthiest solutions, but they are indeed solutions. And if that gets repeated enough, your brain goes, we got it. We have the solution that always works to make sure we're not bored anymore. Maybe we're eating, right? Or we have the solution that says, I just don't want to do that work right now. There's a better way. I should definitely go eat instead, even if it's painful.
And the best example of your brain automating a problem is driving your car. How many of you actually think about your route to go to work or your route to get back home? I bet you for the last 5 miles of that drive, you're not even thinking. For some of you, you might even start doing other things, right? No judgment, but you might start texting, you might call someone, you might play with the radio, you might just start thinking about the day. And that's because you've driven so many times that it's just become automatic. You don't even think about it anymore. You know the problem. You know, hey, I got to hit this blinker. There's never anyone coming on the street. So I just kind of merge. That's a really good illustration of how habits work. The more we repeat a problem and we face it, we find a way to overcome it in the same similar fashion. There's a really great quote from the psychologist Carl Jung, who said, until you make the unconscious conscious, it will direct your life and you'll call it fate. So until we understand our habits, until we start to see what's there, we're just going to be a victim to them, right? Versus seeing them, understanding them, and then starting to take action. Is everyone still with us? Are we still kind of making some distinctions?
Easing into it. Now, rewiring a habit, as we said, looks like NA plus NA plus NR equals NB, new awareness, new action, new response, or new reward, and then you get a new behavior. But since awareness is the first step, what I want to set the stage with is that you need to know your pattern so intimately that you can actually change it. A lot of times we think we know why we do something, or we think we know what's going on, so therefore we should already fix it. When in reality, we don't actually intimately know that pattern. We don't really know all the different cues that set off that urge. We don't really notice when that urge pops up until it's so strong we can't avoid it, right? And then sometimes we don't even notice that we're taking the action. It's completely mindless. And then we're like, oh my God, why did I just eat that whole bowl of that? oh no, right? So we need to know this pattern so intimately that we have many opportunities to change it. So that's what we're going to do right now. We're going to walk you through it, but then we're going to have a little workshop here in a second. So roll with us.
The first stage we've already identified is the action you want to change. So the habit. I want to stop scrolling. That's an action, right? Scrolling your phone, buying something on Amazon. Now, what's great is you recognize that there's probably five actions that happen before you engage in the behavior, right? I open the app, I start to look at stuff, I scroll. The good news though is we're just looking at the general habit, right? So you don't have to be that in depth, but think, what is the action, right? Is it eating ice cream? Is it eating cookies? Is it beating myself up because I'm not perfect? What are the things there? What are the actions? And the second thing we want to build awareness around is the cue. What is the thing that happens that leads me there? What is the story, right? What are the things I'm telling myself? You can also think of cues as places and environments. When I'm at work, when I'm in the car, times of day, it's 9 p.m. I usually sit on my couch and eat some ice cream. Times of year, is anyone ready for pumpkin spice? Right? Shelby,
No.
Shelby, no
Shelby's
way.
the contrarian.
No way. It could be people, right? I get around my wife, and Lindsay and I love to eat and share food together. We have a certain habit, certain way that we do things together. It can also be that damn boss of yours or that employee who just doesn't do things right sometimes. I kid, of course. It could be an event, a social gathering. It can also be another action. I sit on the couch and then I start to think about the cookies. I sit on the couch and I start to think about scrolling and get bored. So I start to do it. And then lastly, it can also be an emotion or a thought, right? I feel a thought, I feel an emotion, and I start to engage it in a certain way. I start to think a certain thought, and then I allow it to bring me on a certain path or a certain cycle. So again, think for yourself, if you have your action, what are the cues? It might be one or two. Don't feel like you have to be perfect. Is it late at night? Is it watching your favorite television show? Is it whenever you feel a little anxious or uncertain, you open up the Amazon app? What are some of the things there? Once you identify the cue, we then want to identify the reward of the action, because this is the end goal of the behavior. What is the end goal? When I sit late at night and I eat, what do I receive? What do I receive? It could be that I feel full, right? That's okay. There's nothing wrong with that answer. But what are you really getting from that? Are you getting entertainment through your scrolling? Are you getting maybe a little bit of sympathy when you kind of get mad at yourself and sort of beat yourself up? Or you get, I need to be perfect. Well, at least someone's giving me sympathy. Just think, what is the reward of that?
Yeah. And we'll give you some more quantification, but just for now, keep it as simple as your first answer will probably be the surface level. Ask yourself one more time. And what does that give me? Is it connection, love, joy, relaxation, relief from a pressured, hectic day? What is the emotion or the feeling that you get? Or sometimes it's multiple, or it varies situation to situation. So don't overthink this part, but usually your first answer is the surface. So just make sure you ask yourself one more time, what do I actually get from this? Again, we're going to workshop this together. So we'll come back to it. You'll know this intimately by the end here. And then the last piece, because this is usually the hardest to identify. Once you know the cue, you know the action, you know the reward. Now let's identify that urge, that craving. How does that urge feel? Maybe you've never thought about this before. It's like, I don't know, I just craved sweets. But think about it. How does that urge feel like in your body? What are you starting to think about? Maybe you start to picture things like, oh, I'm picturing the cabinet. I'm picturing what I have left. Or I'm starting to think, man, I really want that. Man, I really want that. That would taste so good right now. I'm hungry. What are you thinking about? And or how does that urge feel? Just jot down a couple of quick notes trying to bring some, again, awareness to the pattern so you know it intimately and you can identify different points where you could step in and change it.
And again, we're not looking for perfection. Just jot down a couple ideas. What we do want to do, though, to hammer this home is do a simple little example. Simple little example. So who has a habit that has come up that you're writing to this that you want a little bit of coaching on or be willing to share? There's something like, hey, this is the action, this is the thing. Who has a habit that they're willing to share about or maybe get a little bit of coaching?
And keep your, let's see.
Missy, can I call on you?
Oh, she's gonna hate you.
Oh, sure.
I think based off of what you do for a living too, this might be really helpful to kind of walk through, meaning like, I think that obviously you'll be able to kind of meet me in this conversation.
Yeah.
What is the action, do you think? What is the thing that you want to work on, or just an example that came up?
So the first thing that came to mind for me was emotional eating.
Okay.
And I realized that I always have that sense of when emotions get too intense, or it's anxiety or sadness or uncertainty, whatever, like my body has this like feeling of like, I need to numb this. I need this to go away, to lessen, to distract myself. So my mind always goes to sugar or some type of food that I can, and when I follow through, yes, it goes away for a little while, but it doesn't make the problem go away. It just, distracts for a little bit. So I was trying to figure out how you said, like, what that feels like in my body. Because I can certainly, intellectualize it and talk about it, but to get in touch with like the physical experience is very different.
Yeah. Well, so what's the reward, do you think? What's the reward of just that current pattern?
The temporary relief.
Yeah.
That feeling goes away for a little while and I don't have to deal with it until it comes back.
I love it. That's a fantastic share. It's a fantastic share. Can I give you one piece of coaching too to consider?
Please.
With the urge, right? So you can even do this right now. How does it feel when you're anxious? Where are your shoulders? Where are your hands? What does it feel like in your body? You just tap into it like 10% of the way. We don't have to go to 100, but what does it feel like in your body?
Oh, I carry all the tension in my like neck, my shoulders, everything's up here.
Yeah. Okay. So here's what I want you to start associating. Okay. Here is probably a sign that you need relief. Because what you can start to do is you can associate the craving with the reward. So I can associate the craving, I need some relief, right? You can almost think that the cue leads to the action, the craving leads to the reward, almost like a cross in some sense. So for you, your practice, right, is now building awareness around, oh my gosh, I'm so anxious, or there's so much uncertainty. And now the awareness is, I need to do something to get relief. And now, obviously, the good news is you're in good hands, right? But you can practice just building awareness around, oh, I recognize that I'm about to go do this, or I recognize that I need relief. I need something to relax. Versus, oh my gosh, the food is the problem. It's like, it's actually what's happening in my physiology, what's happening with my body. Obviously, there's the thoughts there, what I'm focusing on. But for you, it's just recognizing this. If you start recognizing this, you'll pretty much meet yourself 10 steps before the food's there. Does that make sense, or am I in left field?
No, you're absolutely like, that totally makes sense. And I'll just add that since starting coaching and the program, like I'm way more aware in general. So I haven't really turned to food in the last week or two, and that's a huge deal. So thank you guys for that.
See y'all.
Fantastic.
Snaps and claps. Yes, she can see you too.
Okay.
Good.
That's fantastic. Thank you so much for that.
So stick with us, because I want this to also be a teaching moment for everyone. So here's what Brian just walked us through, because I wrote it down. So Missy has at least, there's probably more, but there's at least 4 cues, 4 different cues. Walk with me. Anxiety, so an emotion. Sadness, emotion. Uncertainty, which is kind of like just a little bit of fear, or just not not sure what's going to happen, right? So that could be like a need that's not being met. She doesn't feel like she has certainty. And then a thought, I need this to stop. Those are 4 different cues that tell her brain time to eat. Cue, all 4 cues directly linked to the action. Does that make sense to everybody? You with us?
We're going deep in the paint, so keep walking with us. You're doing great.
So think about, if you have your cycle written down, you can even draw a line from cue to action, because that's what we just did. Any of those cues tell Missy it's time to eat. And then the other piece we did was she started to identify her craving, which actually happens a lot. It happens multiple times before she gets to the full point where she feels like she has to eat. And that craving, the one she identified was my shoulders. Like they just start to feel really tense. So she might not be thinking, oh my God, I can't handle this emotion. This is too much. I need this to stop yet. But she can feel that buildup and that urge in her body. And what that urge is telling her is, hello, I need relief. I need relief. I need to go for a walk. I need yoga. I need something to relax. But if she's not aware of that, then she's going to wait till that craving gets to a 10 out of 10 on intensity. And she starts to think, oh my God, I need this to stop. And she's going to eat.
The food is the fastest way, right? The food is
It's quick, guaranteed, problem solved.
Again,
for a moment.
thinking of the problem solving condition over time. I know that food meets this need. Okay. So the good news is, first off, is Missy unique in her problem? No, she's a human, right? We all experience. I think that everyone here is probably like, oh yeah, I do something like that, right? There's some emotions, there's some feelings, there's some things that are going on, and I turn to something, whether it's food or scrolling or whatever. The point now is understanding that we're building awareness so that we can start to change, right? So we recognize you have some awareness. That's fantastic. The second part is we're going to start taking some new actions, right? Awareness plus action, right? That's what we want to do. We do not want to just focus on our problem. Focusing on your problem makes it far worse because you just feel it more. It's like stubbing your toe and just thinking, oh my gosh, my toe hurts. Yeah, you're going to keep feeling that pain. So what we want to start to do now is focus on some new actions, because we know that awareness is not enough. We know that you can be aware, oh my gosh, I need to stop late night snacking. I need to stop spending so much money on Amazon. I need to stop scrolling, and still fall into the same routine. The key, though, is recognizing that the alternative is not to stop it altogether. Well, I just need to stop. I just need to stop. I'm going to stop going on social media. I'm going to stop scrolling. I'm going to stop eating when I'm stressed. It's never going to happen again. How well does that work? Maybe for 7 days, maybe for a week, maybe for 2 weeks. Maybe you make it 3 weeks, but eventually the stress gets too much and you go back. Well, yep.
Does false. We don't want to do that. So that is a myth that you just need more willpower. You need more self-control. It's not true. And that's a lot of times what causes your demise, is that you think you just need more of those resources, when in reality, what you actually have to do is you have to rewire that habit so that you have a new behavior in the exact same circumstances. The exact same things are happening, but you've got a new behavior that you can count on and that your brain has said is worth repeating.
So again, the golden rule of habit change is take a new action. We're going to take a new action to meet the same need. Really important to know, just practice. You're going to find that this works really well for a little bit, but maybe I need to try something new. This works for a little bit, but I need to try something really new. Don't think that just because you're here and we waved a magic wand over you, this is going to fix everything, right? It's a constant magical process of practicing. So which of these actions and habits do we need to implement and practice? Well, we have to find a healthier way to meet the same need. Because if we just think, oh, I'm going to white knuckle it and discipline myself, our brain is still anticipating the same need for relief. We still need relief from this intense exchange. Now we want to practice taking a new healthy action to get there. And that's because understanding that the end goal of every habit is a reward. So if we don't meet the reward, we never get that relief. We never get that connection. We never get that sense of certainty. And as much as you can all discipline yourself, eventually you're going to fall off track. Eventually things are going to unwind.
Because the truth is your habits are rewarding. And we're repeating a lot of the same things because you got to get this in your head. You got to get it almost in your body at this point. Specifically, habits meet needs. And sometimes you might have a hard time identifying what is rewarding about this because I just feel frustrated at the end of eating too much. So it's not rewarding. Truth is, the only reason it's a habit is because it is rewarding. Otherwise, it wouldn't become automated. Your brain would not see it as a problem solved. Another way to figure out the rewards, though, is to say, what need does it meet? So these are the 6 human needs. And this is a variation of Maslow's hierarchy of needs. Still applies. Contribution and growth are more of spiritual needs, which a lot of you probably need because you're high-level professionals. You give back, like you really have exceeded the basics of life. But we also all need the basics. We need a sense of significance. We need to feel important. We need to feel connection and love. We need to have some sense of variety, and we need to have certainty. We need to have that safety that everything's going to be okay, that we are set.
And which one of these do y'all think is the most powerful? That we all need, was the highest need when you're in a state of stress, overwhelm, or you're falling into a bad habit? You think it's contribution? Do you think it's growth? You think it's significance?
Put it in the chat.
You think it's connection or love? You think it's variety, or do you think it's certainty? Do you think that we go back to a certain habit because we know it's going to give us something? Right? Certainty. Yes. Often because now these stack, by the way. I get certainty that the wine is going to add variety. And when I'm out with my friends, I know we're going to get connection. It's going to make me feel very present. Right? So it's certainty plus, right? There's other things. Why does someone go on social media and talk politics?
What do we think? What need?
Certainty and often significance. Look at mine. Look at what I believe. Or they might even say certainty and contribution, right? They might feel like, oh my gosh, I have no power for this. And this is the only way I can be vocal about it. No judgment. It's just them meeting their need.
And key, you can click. The more of these needs that is met through your habit, the harder it can feel to break. So understand that some habits meet a lot of needs at once, which is why we have to be aware. We have to be aware of those rewards before we can change it.
So what I want y'all to do is when you thought of your reward, you had that cycle built, just ask yourself, what need does it meet? Does it give me a sense of significance? Does it give me a sense of certainty? Give me a sense of variety? Does it give me a sense of connection and love? Does it give me a sense of growth? Oftentimes, we have to trade our sense of certainty for growth, by the way, because growth in and of itself is uncertain. Things are changing. That's a little anxiety provoking. So we have to have a healthier way to get certainty. One of the ways that we get certainty is by working out. Lindsay and I, it's like, oh my gosh, we've been building businesses for over a decade. It's a lot of anxiety, a lot of uncertainty. We moved from New Hampshire to Los Angeles, went from living in a town of 750 people, paying $600 in rent, to living in LA, paying almost $3,000 for a studio apartment. There was a little uncertainty, which is why we know all this, because we spent a lot of time having to rework this, right, for ourselves. So again, think for your reward. What needs does it meet? When you think of it, is it variety after a boring day? Is it a sense of certainty and variety, which you can kind of get because you're going to the same place that you know that delivers it? And then what we want to take is the next step, which is action. What is a healthier way that you can meet the same need? Right? I already gave you a little bit of an illustration of one. Lindsay and I live very uncertain lives, but we have certainty together. That's true. Right? It's like, this is like, I know that regardless of what happens in my life, I have love and connection, and I have growth and contribution because of her. I also know that, hey, if it's been a hard day or hard week, I got to go for a workout. I got to get a run in. I got to get something. I got to get moving, because that's going to provide me massive certainty, because the only thing I can control is myself. And I have to also associate that this is going to help me grow. One of the most powerful things is understanding that the thing that you're facing is actually helping you grow. Again, so looking at that, maybe you need to change and start valuing the need for growth a little bit more too. But again, what is the healthier action and a healthier way to meet the same need?
And think of this as a brainstorm. Think of this as a brainstorm. You're not going to know the answer. You're going to have you're either going to feel really stuck or you're going to have one that pops into your mind. Try to get a couple down. Same, just coming back to Missy's. If her reward is relief, well, then maybe she can think of 5 different ways that she could possibly get relief. Because you want to have, like we said, this is all play. This is practice. You're going to have to test these things. You will think that behavior is going to give you relief. Maybe it does, maybe it doesn't. So have a few different ideas. Think of it as brainstorm. And this is fun fact, this is called habit replacement because you're giving a new action that produces the same reward. You're not trying to change anything else about the habit cycle. So it's just a replacement as opposed to stop doing that. It's like, no, replace it. Okay, give me a thumbs up once you got at least like a couple things just down. Couple ideas down. Okay.
We're going to give you a small little example of what this might look like. So let's say you like eating ice cream on the couch late at night, because who doesn't, right? There's a reason why we don't keep ice cream in our house. That's another way. You can always eliminate the thing that's a cue, right? Which we'll talk about probably in another training on like the more tactical things. But this is like, you understand this, you got 80% of the way. So let's say the cue is you sit on the couch. And the urge is to get a snack, right? You start to get that craving, that urge is, ice cream sitting there. Start to think about it a little bit. And then you get up, you walk over, you grab the ice cream, you sit down, you eat it. And the reward is a sense of certainty and variety, that relief, that relaxation, the calm, ooh, you know what? Seinfeld is better with ice cream. Who knew? All right, you got one smile. That's good. The key is now asking, what would be a new action that would meet that same need? I could still get up and get ice cream, but maybe I really am disciplined to just have a bowl.
Yeah, so bad.
Or instead, like I keep little cans of pineapple. Love it. It's delicious. It's what works for me, right? And I've obviously worked on the rest of time, but it also might be a sense of certainty, variety, sitting down and just learning to be present with yourself, as uncomfortable and as icky as that sounds. It might be eating a healthier option. There might be some other behavior. Maybe it's not too late at night, so you go for a walk and then you come back, right? There might be something. Maybe you sit and you talk to your kid. Mm-hmm. Certainly I'm going to get, and then I'm going to get what? I'm going to get some connection. I'm going to get some love. Maybe I text a friend and say, how you doing? Right now I'm getting a different need met. So there might be something else there, but the key is a new action. The easiest one is just hit pause for a little bit. Think, breathe, observe. These are all simple actions we can put in place.
Right, everybody got some? At least some to test. And we're going to call out the skeptics because there's always one. How many people have written down a new habit, said, I am going to stop doing this one thing. I'm going to do this thing instead. I'm going to have carrots if I'm hungry at night instead of having ice cream. You have these high hopes that you're just going to be better and healthier, and then it tanks. Who has ever had that happen in their life?
Say aye.
Oh,
aye. Awesome.
Okay. Yes, it happens, right? So what we want to do, we're not just going to leave you. That would be a very empty suggestion is, oh, just go test out some new things. We got to actually build a new reward. So I know we just looked for a habit to hit the same reward, but we actually have to build a new reward, because if anybody gets this, you get $5 from Venmo to get your coffee tomorrow. What is the ultimate reward? Why do we set out to build healthier habits and behaviors? What's the ultimate reward? Not just certainty or variety or whatever. Like, what's the
losing
ultimate?
weight.
Or losing weight. Like, what is the actual ultimate reward? Put it in the chat. If anybody gets it, you get coffee on Brian and Lindsay. Take a guess.
Why do we do anything that's we think is going to improve our lives?
You don't get it right. It's okay. You don't get a grade. You just don't
Health.
get a
That's a
coffee.
great answer.
Okay.
Being more healthy. Self-love.
Self-love,
Those are
great
great
answers.
answers.
Great answers.
Accomplishment. Yeah. Feel good. Makes me happy. Peace. Self-fulfillment. Yeah. We're making some great answers, some great strides.
These are
So here is the reason why, and this is the ultimate reward. The ultimate reward of this journey is who you become. It's becoming the kind of person who does that kind of thing. In other words, it's reshaping your identity. It's becoming the kind of person who does take care of themselves, the kind of person who does love themselves enough to change.
Or maybe the person who is peaceful, like brings a sense of peace to every situation, or is so confident that they make others confident too. But it's who you become in the process. And there's really simple ways that you can actually apply this in a way that is real and practical. The first, and I don't know if she's here, but one of my clients says this all the time, but take pride in the fact that you are making a different choice. Like, remember, it's a choice. A lot of people feel shame when they're dieting. It's like, maybe you're just choosing to have 2 drinks instead of 10. Maybe you're making a conscious choice, and you should be really proud of that. And maybe you start to tell yourself things like, I'm actually not the type of person who needs drinks to have fun. Like, I'm actually really fun. You start telling yourself these things, and these are actually internal rewards, right? So you tell yourself, man, I'm the person who like gets out of bed before my husband. Like, you can start to reward yourself for those different behaviors, and that starts linking up a new identity. Does this make sense? Are you with me?
And again, it's a
Yeah.
choice. It's a choice, because oftentimes we can make a new change and beat ourselves up, right? Or say, oh my gosh, but it's still not perfect. I still have so far to go. It's like, no, I made a change. Hell yeah. Like, we're on the path. This is day 1. Tomorrow's day 1 too. Every day is another opportunity. And that's because the ultimate goal of habit change is identity change, because your habits follow your identity. How you think about yourself, the way you observe yourself, you're going to see what actions you're going to follow off of that. If you're frugal, certain actions. If you're unhealthy, if you think you're an unhealthy person, when you're stressed, you're going to turn to unhealthy food. If you think you're a healthy person, hey, I'm still stressed, but I'm going to turn to something healthy for me. So the way you associate yourself impacts the decisions you make. And so we can condition a new identity by reminding ourselves and rewarding ourselves that this is what I'm doing. This is who I am. And so every time that you make progress and you're like, hey, at least I'm not perfect. Like, at least I did something. I don't worry about being perfect. I did something. It's like, hell yeah. Every time you choose to do something that's not emotional eating and you turn to another behavior, it's like, I did it, right? I found a new way to relax and unstress. I beat my husband. Yeah, that's your task, is wake up beforehand. See if we can do that and be like, nee. But you start to see, right? There's something there. And you say, hey, that was awesome. I don't have to do it again tomorrow, but it made me feel good today. That's awesome. Let's try something else again. So this is what we ultimately want to get to, because if we can do this, you now have awareness, you have your new actions, and you can remind yourself, like, I am a badass. Like, I did this thing, right? Look at what I'm doing. This is fantastic. And that's how we condition a new behavior.
Mm-hmm. Because a new action to the same cues, along with a new reward, is how you permanently break any bad habit. Not just for a season or for a moment, but you actually become someone new who does different things, and therefore you have new behaviors. Okay.
Awesome.
Very good. So let's recap and make sure you got key principles. If you notice, we put a key next to everything that was important, but we'll recap it just in case. First things first. You can apply this to every habit that you might want to break, because we know everybody has more than one. But the golden rule of habit change is take a new what? I see your mouths. Action.
There you go. Baby step it. Take a new action.
Okay. Second, you can't change what you're not
Yes.
aware of.
Fantastic. You can use the chat box as well.
Yes, good. And third, we can't just stop a bad habit. We need to replace it with an equally rewarding one. And what is this called? Does anybody remember? Don't tell them. Yes, good. Habit replacement.
Fantastic.
Perfect.
So does everyone feel like they have some distinctions, some insights, some things that are going to help them? Love to see in the chat box what your takeaways are. and what comes up for you.
Now, that's our recap, but you might still be wondering, we're going to skip through this a little bit fast because we are at time, but I need to pause. Good.
Future.
How is this just breaking this one habit going to get me to my results? Or especially if you have a big goal, like sometimes it can feel like, how is this one thing going to stack up? It will compound, but there's truth that you do need some strategy on top of your core habits.
Yes.
Right. So there are a few common pitfalls. Pick your poison, right? If you're going to try to be perfect with this, if you're going to self-sabotage, get into the place of like, F it, I don't care. It's not working. It's not big enough. The changes don't work. Or you overcorrect, try to do too much at once. You don't really know what you're after. So you just keep telling yourself, I just got to be healthier. And it's like, for what? Some days, right? If we're being honest, or you're winging it. Like you're just throwing everything at the wall, being like, I'm going to just do all the things. Like, okay, those are going to lead to failure. You're not going to get what you want. You're going to be frustrated with the process. So to avoid those, there's a few things that you want to look out for.
And we're going to give you 5 simple principles that will help you break through them all. So I'm going to skip ahead just briefly, kind of just recap them as we're looking at it. The first thing is you have to start with the end in mind. If you don't know why you're doing this or what you're trying to accomplish, then the habit doesn't make much sense. It's short-lived.
It's not consistency. It's what consistency gives you. On the other side is the end in mind.
The second is you have to continue to practice mindfulness, which is a practice of being in the moment, just like you are right now, right? You're all attentive. You're here right now. What a wonderful gift. You have to practice being present with yourself, understand and observe what the habit is, what the actions are, what are the thoughts that come up, right? What are some of the things? Third is you have to leverage a keystone habit. Keystone habit is the small habit you put in place that influences the rest. All of our clients know we do optimize the strategy. We do give you your diet. We do give you your nutrition. We'll give you everything you need to get great results. But the first thing we have to do is we have to build some keystone habits. Because if we don't start your morning off right, or if you don't manage the end of the day right, before you get back home, you start eating the popcorn, then the best strategy is not going to work. So we need a simple habit that starts to influence the rest. Fourth is we have to have some sense of accountability. Our environment shapes who we are. So there's no shade, but oftentimes the people we're around often influence our habits, right? So again, if we don't have external accountability, someone who's reminding us of our vision, reminding us to practice, reminding us of what we're needing to do, we might fall off track. We might not follow through. And the last is we need to actually have a strategy to get to where we want to be. If we don't have these 5 pieces, then all of the conversation is a really nice, 60 minutes you spent with Brian and Lindsay, but it falls short.
Yeah. And the ideal strategy, just so you can jot it down for yourself, is basically this. You do want to have a strategy that's built for your body and that's built for you. Our clients know each of their approach is different, but it should build on some core habits, right? There should be some core high impact habits that you start with, like the keystone habit or just some basic things to start the process. But if you have the optimal strategy for you, it should produce your outcome. If you want to lose weight, that's awesome. Like we can do that. But it should also do that in a very sustainable way that you also enjoy, because you're not going to keep doing something you don't enjoy or that feels like way too much from the get-go. So an optimal strategy really looks like you have your line, your core habits as your base. You build on that with your training, your nutrition, things that actually produce results. But those results that you produce actually are fun, enjoyable. You want to do it. And if not, then you change the strategy, right? You don't ever change the goal. You should change the strategy. So that's really the value. Okay. That's really what you want to be aiming for, just so you have that.
And a small little example of this in practice is one of our clients, Matt, at the front of his program with us. He was trying to fix everything. He had tried different diets. He had tried different programs. He was almost 400 pounds, a burnt out CEO. And when he started, he's like, Brian, I don't know. I feel like there's so many things I need to fix. And I said, hey, that's great. Let's start your morning off with a breakfast that's healthy, and let's stretch for 15 minutes per day. Really simple. Can you do that? I think I can do that. Once he started to do that, we added in, okay, here's what I want your lunch to be like. Here's what your new workouts are going to be like. Let's start pushing. And now he's down almost 90 pounds. He has more energy, has more confidence. He feels fantastic. Now he's done this over 18 months, right? So it hasn't been like the elixir. He's just taken time. He's worked hard. Actually, it's getting close to 2 years now. He's just been doing such a great job. But again, it started with a couple habits that he built off of with that same system that we talked about.
And the same is for Kylie. So we show you big, long results over time because everything, 1,000 miles starts with a step, right? Kylie's was really small too. She was like doing a little bit of working out here and there, but we started really small. And over the course of time, she started to say, oh, I feel really strong when I do these types of workouts. Oh, I think I might try running. And so we started to stack it in and build it as she got better. We didn't say, hey, like, let's start training for a half marathon when she came to us on the left, right? But now she is training for a half marathon 2 years later when she's had multiple knee surgery. She never thought she'd even run like 10 steps again. She's like 40 years old, so she still has her whole life to run now. And it's like, that's freaking awesome. So it starts small. So just give yourself the grace to start. Remember, it compounds. And especially if you have the right strategy, you will do well. So just keep that in mind. And that's the recap for long-term change, which is really what we're aiming for. That said, which do you need most to succeed? Build awareness, and this is the last thing we'll have you put in the chat. Do you need to work on your habits? Which I'm guessing most of you do because you're here, right? No shame. Do you need a better strategy? Because honestly, it's just really not working well, or you're not enjoying it, or like it hasn't been able to stick, right? Or do you just genuinely need some accountability? I've had conversations with many of you about, I just need to kick some ass. I just need to get going.
Accountability.
And there's no wrong answers. This is,
Better
again,
strategy.
just, we need to build out some awareness so you know what you actually need. All
Fantastic.
strategy. Yep, absolutely. I was thinking you in my head, Debbie, when I said that. Yeah, these are great. All of it. Yes. And if you're a client, you probably need all of it. And that's why you're with us.
Yeah, amen.
Which is great.
Well, for those of you who are here, we do have some exciting news. We have a really great share. One thing that we want to surprise you with. And I'll let Lindsay dive in.
Yeah, so we have a surprise. You ready? So
We had like 170 applicants.
we did something really great last month. I don't know if you saw it, but we gave away a bunch of scholarships for coaching last month. We ended up giving away, what was it?
We had like 107.
I'm not going to play this because it's too long, but we gave away $40,000 last month in coaching scholarships. We had almost 200 applications, and we were like, we can't just pick two. Like we got to do it big. So we did all of that, but then we still had people coming in at the end being like, oh my God, it's the deadline. I didn't get it. And so Brian and I have been talking for the last couple of weeks after getting everybody started and on their journey. And we decided we want to do more. We want to do at least for the people who are already carving out space for themselves. They're clearly dedicated. They want to start the journey, or they're already on it, and maybe they have someone they love who wants to start it. So we want to give away another 10K in scholarships. We made the decision that we want to do that. And this is only for people on the masterclass and your family or friends. Like if you have someone that's like on your heart that you're like, they need some support, you can absolutely send them the link. But we're opening back up the application. So we are going to extend this a little bit further. And basically, just so you know, I already said this, you're already making the space. Like we want to help and support in any of those areas that you need. And in summary, it basically is going to be a 4-month coaching scholarship. So you'll be able to like lose the weight you want, get your energy up, really have the push and the guidance and the accountability. If you have any questions, there's clients on this call. You can absolutely ask them or ask us. But it's really about having that sustainable outcome in a lifestyle. And so we want to give you the leg up, make sure it's easy for you or for someone you love, if you're already on the journey, to do this. And so really it's easy. All you have to do is scan the QR code, or like I said, if you are already on this or you got one of the scholarships and you're on here, then you can scan this. You can absolutely send it to someone like a friend and be like, you don't need to know what this is, just go apply for it. That's fine. We'll accept that, but take some time. If this is important to you and you know you want some help, apply for this. We're giving away the 10K, but you just have to get it in by tomorrow at like 6 p.m. really tomorrow evening.
Yeah, we're gonna cut it off by at least we're gonna cut it off by midnight.
Yeah.
So midnight that'll be the last application time. So you can share it, you can scan it yourself. For those of you looking for accountability, the strategy, the extra kick in the butt. We'd love to guide you. We'd love to be the people in your corner. More important than anything is helping you get healthy for life. I mean, obviously we have a bunch of clients here. We've seen great success. We're starting to do fantastic things. So if we can support other people, we'd love to do that as well.
And that concludes the Habit Breakthrough Masterclass and today's special episode of Conquer the Day. I hope that you've gotten so many golden nuggets that you can take back to your life and start applying to make these consistent small changes that compound over time. Trust that this process is not about being perfect. It is about making progress. When in doubt, take another step forward. And that's exactly how you will step by step, brick by brick, build the healthy life and the most powerful version of yourself that you truly want to be. That said, the breakthrough does not stop here. We would love to have you be a part of our free community where you can now have further accountability and connection to other business owners like you who are really fighting to make their health a priority in their life once again. And we'd love to have you be there. Remember, the link to our free Facebook group, Energy Secrets for Business Owners, is in the show notes below. You are more than welcome to join and be a part of it. We will meet you on the inside. Now go out and conquer your day.